2, 3, 4. Underneath this plastic is my next victim. I mean, project. It's been raining a lot in my area, so we put this plastic over it to protect it. I'm just gonna remove that now. A fun fact about this piece, actually mine, when I was like 7 or 8, been in storage for probably around close to 14 years, I would say. We finally got rid of our storage unit. We redid the nightstand. When I first started to flip furniture, I probably redid that nightstand about, I don't know, 2 years ago. Some pretty deep scratches on the top, but nothing too crazy. One of the knobs broke. I'm not sure where that is, but I used to love this when I was a kid. I thought it was so cute, like the bows. You can see that it was used to store things in storage. I guess these are just some of my parents' papers. I just opened up this drawer at the bottom. Goodness, I collect quarters. If the quarters are still in here. They are! I'm pretty sure this used to be like nightlight or something like that. Or her bottom half is, but there she is. Oh, and there's the broken knob. Well, so it is day 1, just removing all of the old hardware. I brought out a pencil, so I'm gonna number the drawers as well. Wait for my dad to get home so he can tell me what he wants me to do with all these papers. It's gonna be 1L, 2L, 3L. The only middle drawer, so I'm just gonna put M. So if you couldn't tell by now, yes, I live in Florida. So this was filmed around the time of hurricane season. We had a little bit of a scare. Thankfully for us personally, everything ended up being okay. But you're always going to get that wind, so we have to prepare the backyard just in case. And we like to get some emergency food and water just in case if the power goes out or the water shuts off. But yeah, that definitely slowed down the process of this piece. But a few weeks later, I was back outside and I started sanding with 120 grit sandpaper. For the most part, the original finish was sanding off really easy, which I was very thankful for because sometimes, especially with those really older pieces, the finish can be really hard to get off with just sanding, and then you have to bring out the chemical strippers, and it's just a whole mess and another process. So thankfully, this piece was not like that. And here are all the drawers completely sanded down to bare wood. It's officially day 3 of working on my childhood dresser. It's so gorgeous out today. It's not hot, it's not cold. The base, I finished sanding the drawers the other day. Set the goal to at least sand down the top of the base. So I'll show you guys that once I'm done. So for the body of the dresser, I'm going in with the 120 grit sandpaper, again, just because it works so well on the drawers. I'm going to be sanding down the top of it to bare wood. Even though I'm painting it, I just want my primer to adhere as best to the top as possible because it's going to be the higher traffic area, and then the rest of the piece I'm mainly just going to scuff sand just because they're not going to get as much traffic as the top of the piece. But I like to make my life hard. I am going to be keeping this piece of the dresser raw wood, and my sander doesn't reach in those little crevices. I like to use this tool as much as possible when I'm hand sanding details because I have sanded through my fingertip before. Obviously it doesn't work 100% of the time, but when it does, I like to use it. Now for the drawers, I got a little bit of inspiration from Pinterest. So I taped that off, and I'm also using blue tape. I use a foam roller for my primer just because it works really well with the primer that I use, but I wrap it up in blue tape just to get any extra fuzzies or cat hair off of it. I live with 4 cats, so it's very likely that there is cat hair on it. Also, the primer that I'm using today is quite old. I haven't refinished a project in a while, so it's been sitting. You know how it gets gunky, so I'm going to be mixing it up and then straining it through that paint strainer just so we don't get any gunkies in our paint. I want the smoothest finish as possible without a paint sprayer, so that just helps out a lot. It's all going to depend on the piece, but I would say for the most part, I'm always going to be doing at least 2 coats of primer on a piece, if not 3. And I say this every single time because it works so well. Always make sure you are sanding in between each coat of primer and paint. Another tip that I like to give is after your first coat of primer, especially with these smaller fixes or imperfections, there's some imperfections that you might not have even seen until that first coat of primer because the primer makes them stand out a little bit more. So if you want to wait, if your piece doesn't have a lot of damage and you want to do that first coat of primer first and then go back and fix those tiny details, that's definitely something you could do. I do it myself all the time. And if you want to meet someone who always keeps me company during my furniture makeovers, this is Whiskey, and he is my cat. This was my first time trying out this paint. It's Dwill wood furniture paint. The paint itself went on really smooth. It didn't leave a lot of streak marks. It was more of like an off-white. My only downside with this paint was that it took a lot of coats to actually start getting some coverage. I know that happens a lot with some white paints, but yeah, that was my only complaint about this paint. Now, if you couldn't guess the design I was going for on the drawers yet, it's literally just a half design between the raw wood and the paint. It's nothing crazy, but I thought it looked cute. And just so you know, this is more of like the reality of a tape removal. You think it's going to be so satisfying, and then it ends up like that. Now we are definitely in the end game. It is time to seal our piece. I like to do at least 3 coats to protect everything that I did. Because I used all water-based products to prime and to paint, I'm going to be using a water-based sealer as well. And I really wish I would have filmed me and my father trying to remove the drawers from this dresser. It was so difficult, and it was just as difficult to put them back in the piece. I don't know why it was so hard, but eventually we did it. I added new hardware, and just a little reminder, this was before and this was after. I named this flip Juliet. If you're interested in doing a similar makeover, I linked all the products that I use in my bio. If you want to support the channel, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Juliet has officially checked out of Crystal's Furniture Spa. Make sure to tune in next time for the next makeover.